Go ahead.
All right. Welcome to Two Brothers and an Idea. It's episode 5, and we're going to be discussing how to discipline the phallus and why. And we're going to dive right into this. Well, my brother Teton over here, he was giving me a measure right before we started. What's up to everybody? Please share this video. This is an important topic for the brothers, and please comment. Interact, like, subscribe, all of that, right? And jump in the conversation. If you got the link, we're gonna let you in the studio today. Come on in here. So my brother Teton, what's up? What's up, man?
Oh man, it's always a pleasure to have this conversation or have conversations with you, right? And I'm just glad to be here. I guess the bottom
Blessing.
line is that when we come together in these kinds of formats, a lot of times it becomes a challenge because sometimes we are mirroring ourselves, or we sometimes often put ourselves in a space as we're hearing things. So me and my brother was having a conversation before we went live, and I was just sharing with him in moments. And this is coming from when we're communicating on audio apps and then moving from your audio communication into visual video format. So when you hear the phrase, if you ever hear me say the phrase, I'm going to land my plane, what that means is I'm just going to wrap up the conversation. I'm going to wind it up. I got about a few seconds left and I'm going to land my plane. If you experience me saying in conversation, I'm just talking to the people down the hall, what I'm speaking about is the devil advocate, the opposite, the misunderstood communication, things that people may be doing opposite. So it's just a deflection in a humorous way to say, hey, I'm not directing it towards you. I'm just talking to the people down the hall, right? And so we were just having that dialogue, man. And so this leads us into one of the most common conversations that men have a difficult time talking about publicly. And it's how to discipline the phallus. And so we want to be very conscious and very mindful of how we're utilizing language and words in this conversation. But I want to give my brother Ferdinand an opportunity, because when we talk about this, Ferdinand, and I think we spoke a little bit about it earlier, a lot of times we want to think about immediately our genitals, that secondary head, that secondary mind, and what discipline really looks like, right? And so what I think about when we hear somebody says, well, I don't have any discipline. So I've learned without discipline, you're destined for death. You're destined for defeat. And you're most destined for a situation that will not allow you to grow or to function in the most healthiest way. And we're not just talking about, the time that we spend intimately with whoever we choose to love, but we're going to have a barbershop man conversation about how can we discipline ourselves and make better use of our bodies, our minds, and our souls. So Ferdinand, back to you, sir. I want you to just kind of give your perspective on that, man, so we can dive into the conversation. We got a couple of folks that's going to be tuning in, and I think Ferdinand's going to drop the link. And come on up and enjoy the conversation. In the meantime, like, follow, and share. How do we discipline this thing, sir? Where does it start when it comes to our phallus, our behavior, our segue behaviors? I guess we can't use the word now on social media. So let's dig into that. What's your thoughts?
It starts with knowing thyself, right? So there's a lot of understanding, self-identity,
right?
aligning it with righteousness, and without those two pieces right there, a lot of the times that discipline doesn't happen, because that discipline is technically a foundation that we build, and we build that foundation in a spiritual, mental, and a physical, spiritual, mental, and physical ways. So when we don't have that discipline, it can manifest in all kinds of different ways on how we may use other parts of our bodies to express ourselves, right? And the phallus being one of those members that can be used in righteous ways and ways of wickedness, right?
Okay.
So it's really about balance at the end of the day. So everything that you were just talking about, right and exact. Without
Right.
discipline, yeah, you're moving towards death, absolutely. But with discipline, you not only can manifest life, you can cultivate it and nourish it and take it to higher heights.
Yeah, I think I've talked a little bit about this subject on fan base, been on Clubhouse, certain social media platforms. We have these discussions, and a lot of times, we hear a segment of our population of men that will say, "Well, you know, this is how I've been raised. We've been reared to sow our oats. Have as much relationships with women. Collect them like trophies. Build up your cupboard. You are the man based upon how many women or whatever body count that you choose to celebrate." And I think there's a lot of contributing factors to that we want to discuss. And so, from your thinking and from your experience, what are some influences that further move that mindset into a place where now we're developing a culture of just get it while you got it, this highly driven sexual led movement in some of our subcultures in American culture as well.
Well, I would say that the media it plays a huge part in this.
Uh-huh.
I would also say different types of foods that we eat. They
Okay.
influence hormones in different types of ways,
Okay.
right? But even within media, we can kind of go to movies, we can go to TV shows, we can go to other types of media, but definitely the music industry. The music industry is, in real life, it's on some Pied Piper type of stuff. Like the
Okay.
people really follow what they hear, what they listen to, what they resonate with, right? So if you've got a lot of messages about outlandish sexual activities, then you're going to have a lot of people who start to gravitate down that path. But we are a people who at one time we didn't necessarily operate that way in sexuality. We looked at sexuality more as a procreation type of thing than we looked at it for, let's say, just fun pleasure, recreational pleasure. So there's been a change in thought in melanation, and we need to realign with the ancient ways.
Oh, so, I guess it's easily said than done, right? When you're trying
Facts.
to introduce this kind of information to a generation of people who are just they woke, but they ain't woke. Does that make any sense? And
Makes
so,
perfect sense.
what are some ways that you think you could be able to share some of this information with young men to help them really understand the value of themselves and keeping themselves?
Well, I'm gonna tell the young men out there the same thing that my daddy told me.
Uh,
My dad took me on a drive one day. We were just driving around. I don't even know where we was going. We were just driving. He was talking, and he said,
right.
"Listen, son, you need to understand this about women." He said, "If you get a woman pregnant, you will be a slave." I'll never
What?
forget
Told
the
you that?
I'll never forget the day that my daddy said that to me, and it
Wow.
helped me to make some
Uh-huh.
better decisions. I made a whole lot of poor decisions, make no mistake about it. But it helped me to make some better decisions and not get a woman pregnant until I was able to handle it. And even at the points where I got a woman pregnant, I don't think I was really ready to handle it, but I was more ready simply because I thought that I'd become a slave for a long time. I was like, man, listen, I ain't doing that slavery stuff.
Right.
Like,
Right.
no. So I
Right.
stayed away from, I still had girlfriend, I still dated women and things of that nature, but I tried to stay away from actually having children. And
Uh-huh.
so I didn't have my first biological child until I was like 30 or 31 years old.
Well, um, like I said, this is a very interesting conversation, but it's not hard, right? When you talk about discipline, having some self control, being able to identify the root of the problem, And too often, we want to think about what is pleasurable. Sometimes it's a chemical reaction that we have that's influenced by what's going on around us. So case in point, you mentioned music. You mentioned the social element of pop culture and how that music is being communicated and how it's being designed. I'm not here to preach to you or beat you over the head about what music should be and if it's good, bad, or indifferent. I do believe that the power of music, I think we underestimate the impact that it has on our behavior, our emotions, right? And if you don't have a mature ear and understanding of what you are digesting, so that goes back, Fernand, to our diet. What are we eating? What are we taking in? Now, I'm not trying to say this is a negative, but if we think about how powerful music is, Fernand, and how it can invade your subconscious, bypass your frontal lobe into your subconscious without your consent. And so now you're walking around memorizing or mimicking the frequencies of sound that you've
And it's
heard.
shaking your chakras.
So now it's interesting, right? So if I'm telling young people, get it, stick it, get it, lick it, stick it, whatever, over a repeated period of time.
Get it sexy. Get it sexy. Get
So
it
you're creating
sexy.
But then there will be some that will say, like the people down the hall, right? Oh, y'all brothers going too deep. You're being too critical. You remember when you was young, you used to listen to a lot of music. We're not just saying don't do, but it's always good to know the science, the math, the history, and the understanding of how these things affect us. Do you agree or disagree?
Oh, I agree 100%. And I think that the people, I want to introduce the people to a law, a universal law. It's called the law of
Okay.
suggestion. And my personal definition of the law of suggestion is what we experience in repetition, we become, right? So a
Right.
lot of us listen to certain types of songs, watch certain types of, media programs on whatever our favorite platforms are, and we watch them in repetition, right? But some of our actions, words, and our deeds become similar to what we have seen or what we have been listening to, So the law of suggestion plays in all of our lives at all times, every single day. This is real science that I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about this real science from a spiritual, mental, and a physical level. And I think that we need to be more aware of this, not just for ourselves, but also for our children, the young men who come up behind us, these young boys. They don't understand this science. Some of the men are still trying to understand this science, and it's
Right.
talked about in churches. It's
Right.
talked about in the temples, but they may use a different name. They may not use the law of suggestion. They may not use the law of reciprocity or the law of neutralization or the law of non-resistance. They may not use these words. They may use it. They may say something else. But I think that the men need to come to a reality of, if we're going to discipline the phallus and get our homes into a balanced space, all right, we've got to take all of these laws. We got to take science. We got to take religion. We got to take all of these different disciplines, bring them together in a mastermind, and we've got to come together as one and stop being this and be this.
When I think about it, I think about the power that we possess and the beauty of procreating, the beauty of protecting yourself and being able to be to guard yourself, as you would tell your daughters, right? And
Facts.
so I think a lot of times when we're young, a lot of things are being pulled at us, right? As you mentioned earlier, there's so many distractions, so many things to lure you away from truth, lure you away from the innocence of a child, and to pervert your mind. And so a lot of these things that occur, I found that a lot of it was just men are dealing with self-esteem issues. Men are dealing with a lack of understanding about who they are, right?
Yes.
Or, in my thinking, sometimes we go through these journeys because we got bad information from the elders. And and over time, men have to stand up and say, hey, it's time to upgrade the hard drive. I think I might have a virus because the result of my behavior over time has caused a lot of damage.
I would say that there has been a lot of bad information from the elders, right? But this is the thing. We also got to make sure that we hold ourselves responsible, even the young men, even the
There you
young
go.
boys, because we have to allow ourselves to accept that information. There's a whole bunch of young men who are accepting the bad information, and then you got a bunch of young men who aren't, right? So it just depends on the mentality of the person. Either way, the older generation, yes, there's a certain amount of responsibility and accountability that they need to start to take for the information that they're putting out. Telling the young men to do this and to do that, and whatever the messages are that are out there. I don't even want to go deep into them. These are areas where the men can improve. And as gentlemen like yourself and myself, as we step into that age bracket in the coming decades, we need to be examples of what we're talking about right now for that generation, for that next generation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, a lot of times, man, if you reflect back to your own personal experiences, and I remember, along my journey, this was what we do in the military. You served in the U.S. Army, I've served in the United States Navy, and that was the culture. Go out there, have a good time.
Shout out Army.
Yeah, okay. My shipmates out there, y'all know what it'd be like. But anyway, and that was the military culture, but also that's the culture, the lifestyle of how we're being socialized. We've been socialized this way. I found a very interesting song going back. Remember James Brown? And a lot of times we didn't really understand back then that they were hiding these messages subliminally in the music, right? So when you heard the song, Get Up, Get on the Scene, like a sex machine, that's correct, right? What was he talking about? Well, he was talking about the phallus.
You giving up some game right now, bro.
So
go ahead, keep going.
You would hear that song, Get Up, boom, dun, dun, get up on the scene, like a sex machine. Now remember, now I got yours, you got mine. And so as time goes on in culture, it goes from now I'm going to hide these messages. So now I'm just going to put the message right up in your face. Now watch this. Not just with the lyrics, but how the music is constructed. So when the music is sick, rhythms, harmonies, and melodies are not properly aligned or properly placed, then your body, your flesh begins to respond in ways that you have no knowledge of. Your heartbeat, as you mentioned earlier, starts to beat faster. Certain frequencies will cause your chemical dopamine release. You start getting excited below your navel and passages and all kinds of things that happens with just sound. Just sound.
Yeah, vibrational frequencies can take us in all kinds of directions and all kinds of dimensions and realms and spiritual places. And sometimes, once we're in those places, we're offered things. We don't really understand that the things that we're offered, they come with a price.
Right.
And if you're not ready to pay that price, obviously it's best not to accept that thing. But obviously, if somebody offer you a pot of gold, what are you going to say? Yes.
The way things look these days, I'm going to be like, okay, where you get the gold from? Is it real gold? How much is it? I need a second opinion. I need a third opinion.
Fake news. Fake news.
But verify, right? Right. So I know you do a lot in the community, a lot of mentorship programs, a lot of things that you do privately with young men and women as well. So can you talk about some of the counseling services and some of the great stories that you have ran across to help young people kind of rechannel that energy elsewhere, and give them a better insight on what is most important when it comes to enjoying this thing called life?
Absolutely. So through FHTII.com, I have consulting services, and I've been fortunate to help people all over the world with various different types of problems, all tied to health, wealth, and knowledge of self. And, so a lot of people have been setting up businesses, maybe write their trust, multiple different things. And, so if anybody out there, needs a hand with anything, you trying to get through a barrier, you want to ascend to that next level, look in the description. We got the link in there for consultations. Y'all can stay connected with me on fhtii.com, as well as the YouTube, the Instagram, the Facebook, all of that. But what is really important is that we come together, right? Because I got a gift to help people with this kind of thing, right? But then there's somebody else out there, you got a gift, right? We need to come together, bring these gifts together, fuse them. Same thing with a few other people out here. We need to fuse them, right? And then we create a strong web of us working together.
That is so true. And so when I think about a lot of these things that we've had conversations about, we've had multiple conversations off camera. And ironically, all of this that we're doing right now was not by accident, but it was on purpose. And a lot of these conversations we're having today are just conversations we're inviting you all to be a part of. And so I want to be reminded that if you would like what we're doing, you enjoy the dialogue and want to be engaged, if you have a story idea, you have a topic idea, you want to send us, you can shoot us an email. If you want to like, follow, and share, you can do that too. You can comment. But right now, we want to invite young men. We want to invite some of these elders, some of you brothers out there that's sitting on your phone watching this conversation to come on up, pull up, click the link, and let's dive into some of the challenges that we've had along the way, but also giving other brothers some powerful nuggets to learn how to master this behavior that we've always been accused of. And I understand the value of secrecy and preserving certain things in conversation. No, we're not here to hear all your personal business. We're just here to build, and we're here to encourage and strengthen brothers and give them insight, because a lot of times we don't talk enough about these things to better serve those that that look like us in our community. So that's my thinking on it, man. We really got to keep this show rolling, brother.
I got a story. So, I got quite a few stories.
Yeah, I know you do.
You do. But yeah, man, there's been many times in my past that I've made poor decisions with women, and, maybe had a girlfriend over here and the girlfriend over there and the girlfriend over there all at the same time, right? And that wasn't right to them, but I remember opportunities that I've missed, that I wasn't prepared for, that I lost out on because I was putting so much energy into maintaining multiple different relationships. And
but isn't that stressful?
It can be. It can also be fun, right? But but it can be stressful, right? But the thing about it is, even more than it being stressful or being fun, there are opportunities out here for us young men, and that sometimes we lose those blessings. Those blessings are off the table because our focus isn't where it's supposed to be at, right? And this is one of the main reasons that I would tell a young man that he needs to discipline his phallus. He needs to discipline his desires, discipline the way he conducts himself, because there are billion-dollar opportunities out here for young men, and that starts in like elementary, middle, and high school. All we have to do is recognize that there are billion-dollar opportunities, but the only way to achieve that, to be able to have that awareness, to be able to see that that is an opportunity, is if we are moving in discipline.
Man, when I talk about the point of reference, understanding that if you don't have the password or the access for constant growth and development and information, be it by whoever it may be, right? Mentor, leaders in your family, whatever, father, whatever. And when you lack that, you have a tendency, in my experience, of connecting to other things. And a lot of those things that we're connecting to, we are not wise enough. We don't have enough equity and time in life to really discern and understand that these things are dangerous. And so as I went through my life's journey, man, if I could go back in time, not to say I regret the behavior or the mistakes or things that I made, because there were lessons, there were messages and lessons, right? But to
Right.
really understand how important it is to teach my children, to teach my daughters to recognize an undisciplined man, okay? How important it is to share these lessons to your children and being very authentic and transparent, also preserving a lot of things that we don't want to share everything, but we want to be able to help our young people. And those are the young people that look like us. How these things happen and then how to avoid it. What is the why? Why is it that we've been taught to go hump on everything we see in sight, run and chase? You know what I mean?
Well, you're talking about spiritual warfare right now, right? We got to
Uh-oh.
keep in mind at the end of the day that there's been a systematic plan to tear apart the melanated family for as long as I can even think of. I could take it back at least 1,000 years, if not longer than that, right? But definitely in America, we're talking about the entirety of colonialism, right? And then they've just kind of switched up how they break up the melanated family. I can give some actual examples. 1970s, you got a whole bunch of these mills, shipyards, or different types of businesses where a lot of melanated males work at, and those are getting closed, right? While the neighborhoods are being flooded with drugs at the same time, while the women are being encouraged at the same time to take welfare and keep the man out of the house, right? This all actually happened. And this is a system. This is systematic warfare.
Oh, the
And
Jaffe report.
say what?
It was the Jaffe report.
The Jaffe reports, right? So when we have situations like this happen, this is a reality of life that we're always going to have some haters that's going after us, right? But if we are disciplined and properly prepared, there is nothing that can stand in our way. There's no hurt, harm, or danger that could slow us down or mess us up on this path of righteousness that we should be on, right? But without that, because that becomes like the armor of God, living by
Exactly.
those principles, living within that the righteousness, that becomes literally like the armor of God when we have these different types of things come along the pathway to test us. But when we fall and stay down for a very long time, that shows if we've been following those principles and those laws.
All right. Now, those are important things to know, right? And I understand what you're saying. And of course, today I'm not Skip Bayless today. But I want to be able to push on that just a little bit further and
Sure.
allow you to kind of unpack that a little bit more, because I think what I want people to really understand is the meat is good, but man, the dessert is much better, right? The dessert seals the deal. So can you give me at least 3 things that young men must first recognize, in terms of how they can get to that place of discipline, not perfection, but what are some things? Also, you mentioned know thyself. That was one. And can you give me 2 more?
I think when it comes down to a young man stepping into manhood with that discipline, he needs to have some type of rites of passage.
Mm,
You
okay.
know, there needs to be something. For a lot of young men, maybe their rites of passage is playing on the football team in high
Right.
school, right? And
Could
then
be.
going through training camp. It's pretty extensive in the training. You got to prove that you really about that. If you go out to some of these training camps, especially talking about schools in Texas, California, maybe a few different other locations, we got some pretty dope athletes out here in Virginia. So that could be a rites of passage. You could look at the Spartans, right? The Spartans have a really interesting rite of passage that they showed in the movie 300, where 6, 7 years old, you got to go out to the wilderness and you got to be out there for a certain amount of time to prove that you're a man. And if you have proven that you're a man, you show back up with a kill. All right, well, boom, you could come back home and we'll treat you like a man. Now you can have a woman and everything, right? But you got to prove this first. You know, that mentality has got to be there. You know, so it really depends. In America, we have a large melting pot of people,
Okay.
right? So there's going to be a lot of different types of rites of passage for getting to manhood. You know, we got melanated people, but even within melanation, we have Hebrew Israelites, we have Moors, we have Christians, we have people who we have Muslims, you know, and much more. Like, you know, so each of these different groups and sects of people, whether in melanation or outside of it, they all have different rites of passage to step into manhood. A lot of ours are very similar, but we still respect the differences as well.
Outstanding, outstanding, sir. Outstanding, sir. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, those that are sitting around listening, if you're going to follow this a little bit later after this live, we're just having a conversation and we're welcoming any of you brothers out there, friends, family that want to just jump in and, you know, give us a nugget or a jewel or two. We'll drop the link and join in the conversation. Two Brothaz An Idea.
I'm dropping the link right now in the main chat for anybody who wants to jump in here. It's in there now. It's on the YouTube. It's on the Facebook. It's on the LinkedIn. It's on the Instagram. Pull up. Right. Hey, shout out to Sincere. What's up, Brother King? Shout out.
Man.
This is the rite of passage. Yes, brother. Right. Facts.
Hey, that's my good brother, man. I've known this brother for many, many years, man. Send that. Hey, Sincere, get on this link, man. We need to see you come on this. If you available.
Yeah, man. Click the link, man.
Click in and come on in and join this conversation, sir.
Shout out to the brother Antoine. Shout out, brother. Appreciate you. I got to go back to my man. Shout out to brother Jordan, man. You know what I'm saying? We out here, bro. We out here. Let's get it.
Oh yeah.
Let's get it. So hey, so Teton, all right. So check this out, man. When the brothers are getting to a point of understanding that the phallus needs to be disciplined, and I'm not talking about somebody told them, they read it in a book. No, they come to a point in their actual mind. Hey, I gotta discipline. I gotta get this under control because stuff's out of control. If you don't mind, give us a small measure of how you came to that point.
Well, I think a lot of times when I would go through these different challenges in my youth and even in my full-grown adulthood, right? I think I had to find a place where I could identify the root of the problem, right? Sometimes we're in these spaces because there is a chemical imbalance, there is an emotional need or lack thereof, right? And so as I recall going through my life journey, the more and more I abuse the responsibility, hear me out, the more I abused the responsibility of what was given to me by God, by the Most High, out of my family, that responsibility of being a father, or even not so much in a marital relationship. But when you abuse your body, you abuse your time, you share your energy with thousands and hundreds of people, women, so forth and so on in that lifestyle. And when you want to settle down all of a sudden, do you really have the time? Do you really have the energy? Do you really have the understanding? So what I had to really sit down and say, look here, bro, there's only a few things that can happen. And we all know what those things are potentially can be. And so I had to really find out, you know, what value do I have? Because if I keep living this lifestyle, if I keep enjoying the lust of my flesh and the pride of life and these things that I enjoy the most, I knew that I would eventually become brought down to nothing because I was chasing or had a desire for things that were unhealthy, that was destructive, and that will require great discipline, a great consequence through my family, how it impact my daughters, how it impact my son. And so we got to really understand, because how can it be easy? And I'm going to land my plane to sit back and you know how we used to do on the ship and do on the field. We'd brag about all the wonderful events that we experienced until it's time to sit down with your daughter. See, we don't think enough about that when it comes time to sit down and talk to your baby girl and teach her and help her understand.
Yeah.
Come on now. She must understand that daddy wasn't always perfect. And so that's what I had to learn. I had to really be honest with my children. I had to really be honest with myself. I had to have a renewed mind. I had to really understand where's this life going to take me. And as you know, and as we always know, when the rabbit got the gun, it ain't fun. So
hey, like Glorilla say, at the end of the day gonna end.
but I'm very passionate about this conversation because we talk about this a lot. We've made a lot of mistakes.
Sure.
Right? A lot of bad choices. We've hurt a lot of people. And I think a lot of it has to do with the lack of love for yourself, right? As you talked about the knowledge of self and understanding who you are, what your purpose is, right? And sometimes we miss the golden opportunity of that rite of passage. Let's unpack that. What does that look like for you, Ferdinand? The rites of passage.
Hey, so first, do me a favor and send Brother King the link. He's trying to get into the stream. But the rites of passage, what it looks like to me is learning how to fish, learning how to hunt, learning how to build a house, learning how to fix vehicles. I'm not saying that every brother will be masters of all these things, but there needs to be a basic knowledge of these things that a lot of people would say qualify you to be called a man, right?
Okay.
Understanding how to earn money, but not just learning how to earn it from an employee perspective. Every young man needs to learn how to earn money from an entrepreneurial perspective as well. Every young man, once they become a man, can choose whichever route they want to go. You want to go employee route, no problem. You want to be an entrepreneur, no problem, right? But you need to learn how to do both of those options so you have options when you're a little older, when you're being a man to a family. I think that the rites of passage for brothers in America, it should be straight up 18 years from birth until graduation of high school. Real rap, the whole time, because we need it. Like, I love to sit back and say, I don't even know if this is true or not, but I'm going to say it. Melanated brothers are an endangered species in America.
You think so?
In my opinion.
Okay.
That's just my opinion, right? But when I say that, I'm trying to say that, like, we need every lesson that we can get before we step out into this game. Because there's so many traps, there's so many hurdles, man, there's so much nonsense along the way for us to have to go through to just to be able to have a family with a house, just to be able to, like, not have served 5 years in prison. There's so much that is thrown in our path to catch us along the way, so the only way to really get through that is mentality, goals, having some kind of direction, and having a whole lot of damn angels along the way. That's like, listen, man, you about to step in quicksand, B.
So what do you
go
say
to the left?
That? But what do you say now? That's legit. But what do you say to that brother, that young man that's in survival mode? He ain't trying to sit down here, nothing. I gotta feed my babies, right? Ironically, I got to work this job. I got to do whatever I got to do. I got to get in where I fit in. So how do you translate that to them kind of brothers? Because a lot of times, all that stuff we talk about, it go in one ear out the other. Because I'm in survival.
When I'm talking to the younger brothers who are in full-fledged survival mode like that, I talk to them about longevity of being a father.
Okay.
Listen, you want to be here for the quinceañera. You want to be here for the prom. You want to be here for when your daughter graduates college. You want to see when your daughter, graduates 8th grade or whatever. Like, you want to be a part of those things. You want your daughter to, when she matures enough to want to talk about men, you want to be there when she's finally ready to come and talk to a man about that. You want to be the man that she comes to talk to. Well, that's not going to happen if you're in prison. That's not going to happen if you're at the local cemetery 6 feet under. You know, so
Right.
I tell the young men that if you want to have this life, this privilege of family, and to be this patriarch of this new line of the same bloodline, there's sacrifice that has to happen, survival or not. You've got to live in the reality that that has to happen, or else you could be caught in one of these traps. Some listen and some don't.
Yeah, you know, a lot of
Hey,
times.
hold on, T-Tom. We got the brother Sincere
My
in the
man,
building. Hey, what's
my
going
man.
on, brother? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, good people? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Oh,
go
yeah.
ahead.
Good, man. It's good to be here, man. I appreciate the invite, especially from my brother, one of the more intelligent men that I know.
Bless
Oh,
brother.
I appreciate you, sir. So we got to meet this way. It's okay. This brother's with me. I've been with this brother in Japan. This is Ferdinand. I've known Ferdinand for the last 15 years, I guess. But me and this brother here, we used to be in talk shop all day, every day for many, many years in Japan. Even when he came back to America, we stayed connected. And so I'm really excited to make contact with my good friend brother here. And I want to hear his thoughts on some of the great things that he's doing, but most importantly, some of your ideas about this conversation we're having today.
Oh man, look, I appreciate it. Well, first thing that I do have, first of all, thank y'all for having me on here, man. I appreciate it. One of the first things that I do have going on is right now I just began a nonprofit organization. It's called Gentlemen's University.
Congrats, bro.
Appreciate it. And what that is we teach young men between the ages of 14 to 19 manhood. We do so through things like teaching them the etiquettes and the disciplines of being a gentleman. But we also give them the information that they're going to need when they leave mom and dad's house for the last time.
Hey, bro, toss that information in the chat, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we teach them financial literacy. We teach them about how to conduct themselves during an interview. We teach them about how to get to college or how to get a career outside of college, because not everybody's made for college, but there's something that you can do that's outside of college that you can still make a career of and be considered successful. As far as the topic goes, I am a big advocate for discipline. I'm also writing a book, right? And my book should be done maybe around the July time frame.
Okay.
Y'all hearing that first. I hadn't told anybody else that. So y'all.
Hey, that's what's up, bro.
Yeah, it's called. The title of the book is called "How Men Are Made," and one of the things that I speak about is discipline. And what I say in the chapter that's about discipline is the foundation that manhood is based on. Anything that is required of a man does require discipline. You think about all of the responsibilities that we have as men, the things that we shoulder. It's all about discipline. You leave your mother, your father's house for the last time. You got to have the discipline to go out there and find yourself a job, a job.
That's it.
You know, to understand what it is that you have to do, because your parents got you a vehicle, or you've been driving your mom and pop's vehicle the whole time. You don't know about that insurance. You don't know about that car note. You don't know about that gas. You know what I mean? That oil change. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
So the types of things that we try to make sure that we inform our gentlemen about. That come through the nonprofit. It's the small things, but the things that make a huge difference. And I heard when I first came in, you guys were talking about a rite of passage. I actually think that that's something we don't have. I actually think it's something. When you think about the Jewish community, they have the bar mitzvah. That's their thing. When you think about our Latino brothers and sisters, what do they have when you turn 15?
Okay, yeah.
Quinceañera.
I thought we had one called the prom. Kickoff.
Oh Lord, don't get me started on the prom. You know what I'm saying? But we don't have anything like that. I read in a book once that in Africa, when a young man is coming into his manhood, there's a big party for him, if you will. One thing that has to happen is he has to go to every man in his village, and every man in the village departs wisdom on him about what's going to be expected of him, and what kind of changes are going to be had in this new chapter of his life. I thought that was awesome, you know.
Wow.
But we don't have anything that's ours, that belongs to us specifically.
I agree with you. I don't think we have anything. I don't think we have a rites of passage either. Outside of what's kind of been created for us, like high school graduation, college graduation, maybe apprentice school or military. Right? These are all, in my opinion, they are their own rites of passage. But a lot of us kind of have adopted them.
Mm-hmm. But even in those, the ones that I mentioned before, they are all addressed specifically to the manhood or to the womanhood.
Sure.
When we graduate, that's just everybody's taking this jump in life. It's not
right.
The manhood, you know what I mean? And I think that that's something that we certainly need, in our community.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on, man, and sharing that. And it's exciting because I think that we're not only talking about some of the challenges that we experiencing and are still experiencing, but we're talking about solutions. And there are brothers and sisters out here that are putting together projects and they're building industries and they're really doing the work. And so, man, I salute you. You're doing it. And so the whole conversation is about building community.
Exactly.
And I think the biggest challenge, at least for me, and learning and understanding that the community comes with different lenses. You don't deal with the community between your ears first. That means your mind. See, a lot of times our mind need to be renewed. Our health is bad, right? So the chemicals and the processing speed and the information in this mainframe and this hard drive is infected. Now, I have a will to go out here and do all this great work in the community, heal the sick, do all this wonderful stuff.
Right.
But if I don't be in position, meaning the position of ready, meaning equipped to do the work, that first work that I do, there got to be examples of that in my home.
So
if there's no evidence-based facts to prove the things that Brother Ferdinand has been sharing, the things that you're sharing, and some of the things that we all have shared collectively, then what we doing? Waiting for the next Martin Luther King?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what we got to change. It's just like you're saying, sometimes we got to realize we got to put our own hands to the plow.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to, and that's another thing too. It doesn't have to be this big, grandiose gesture for everybody to see. You know what I mean? If you got a neighbor that it's a single mother, and you see that she has a young man, just help the sister out. That's starting. You know what I mean? If you see, you drop your kids off at school or whatever, high school, middle school, whatever it be, and you see somebody having a little trouble, just, hey, is everything? Hey man, this your mama. Tighten up. I mean, there's nothing like a stern man. It's nothing like it. You know what I mean? That's why when it's respected, from everybody. Even when somebody doesn't know you, if you present yourself in a way that is, when you straight up and down, it's respected. It's respected.
I agree.
Talking earlier about that whole rite of passage, that was the thing that came to mind, is that we have to do that.
Hey, so I got a question for you, right? So before you go, when did you understand for the first time in demonstration understanding? When did you get to that point for disciplining your phallus?
I'm gonna tell you what, I'm going to admit to you that it was late in life. I'm going to say probably when I was around 33. When I was around 33 years old. Now I would have to say that I was raised by my mother. Me and my father have a good relationship now. But I was raised by my mother. My mother was a very strong woman, very stern. She was not one of these flimsy single mothers out here. She did not play the game. But she's not a man.
That's right.
And there's nothing that she can do about that. There has to be a man present, if not in the home, somewhere in immediacy to a young boy. It has to happen, because what we learn a lot of times is what we see.
That's right.
More than anything else, not what we hear, but
That's
what we see demonstrated in front of us, and those things that have some type of impact on us as far as structure is concerned. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of people won't admit it, but when I left to go in the military, I left because I knew that if I stayed in Jacksonville, Florida, I was going to nothing good was going to come of that. Nothing good was going to come of that, and I knew I did not want to be a prisoner. So
Right.
I willingly said, "Well, man, let me just go do this military thing and see how that works out," And I didn't really have a plan other than to dodge Jacksonville, because I knew that was going to be an issue.
Wow.
But let me tell you something that I learned immediately there. Structure is the best thing in the world for
Yes, sir.
because when you see people that come home from two places, when you see a young man or a man that comes home from military training, he's developed some type of structure, some type of routine, some type of thing that has to be done daily.
That's right.
The other person is coming home from prison, because there is structure in prison. There might be some other, things that go on, but guess what? The lights is going out at this time. Your bunk better be made. You better make sure that you are present to eat at this time, and those things have a lasting effect on men. I've been home when someone from prison has come home, and if you've ever been that person, you will see that there's institutionalized.
That's right.
We call it, but a lot of that is structured. What they're institutionalized about is you don't have to cover your plate no more, brother. It's all good now. You don't have to do that. And some other things, but we're talking about they usually wake up early.
Right.
Their body is just trained to be up early. They're usually, very, at least, from my experience, almost OCD about cleanliness.
Yeah,
Sure.
everything. Everything.
You know what I'm saying? So that is structure. So the best thing that could happen early and often for a young man is for structure to be developed. And once that happens, discipline will come much easier for that young man.
You know what, brother? I'm glad you said that. You done took us right into our next portion. But before we go into our next portion about discipline, first of all, everybody out there, y'all jump in the comments. Y'all show this brother Sincere some love. He got some programs out there to help our people. I'm putting his website up here. Everybody out there, y'all go to this brother website. Y'all support this brother. Spend some money with this brother. Right? Y'all go to his social media, blow it up with the likes, the loves, the comments, all that. Share all his stuff to everybody. We got to support our people. Brother Sincere, very much appreciate you coming out today and showing some love, brother.
I appreciate it, brother. Trust me, I appreciate it. Anything I see my man T on, I support, even from the shadows. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, I appreciate you, my man. We definitely we got to link up. It is now public information. We both in Dallas.
Indeed, you know what I'm saying. So we and don't worry, because I have some things that I definitely need from you. You know what I'm saying.
And so we'll link up, man. I appreciate you as always, brother. Much love to you and the family. And little man Juicy, man. I know how old is he now? About 22?
Juicy, 20 years old, man. He's doing good. He up in McKinney at the Job Corps learning the HVAC thing.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. But brother, I love you, man. Appreciate you, and blessings to your family, sir.
I appreciate both of y'all, man. Love you, brothers, man.
Blessings.
I appreciate all the support, man. Blessings and salutations.
No doubt.
All right, so our brother Sincere came up here, gave us a beautiful measure. Helping us understand that there are some programs out here that we can be utilizing to help our young men grow and become what they are to become. But at this point, we're going to dive into a little bit about discipline. Our brother Teton is going to give us a measure.
Okay. All right. So once again, we're back at these wonderful keynote presentations that have been reduced down to PDFs. This is something that I've always held on for some time, and I wanted to just give a little piece of it as we talk about boys lacking self-discipline, men are self-disciplined. Now, once as always, these are conversations and these are ideas. They're not hardcore to anyone specific, but I just want to be able to segue here and look at one of the most important things that I find is important for men is to have physical discipline. But before we talk about physical discipline, we can go back one or two, Fernand, real quickly here before we talk about the physical. Mental discipline. All of this plays in effect, right? So mental discipline is a man must have mental discipline. Mental discipline means that a person is in control of their mind. They are in control of their thoughts. Whenever they have negative thoughts, they discipline their mind so that they can no longer have those negative thoughts. This is very basic considering the audience that we were speaking to. And particularly if they have negative thoughts about women, they will discipline their thoughts so that they will no longer have negative thoughts about women, right? Mental discipline is also very important because it is the foundation of all other levels of discipline. So you have your mental discipline, your verbal discipline, being able to discipline yourself in your communication, your words, how you speak to women, right? Sometimes we don't understand that our heart is deceitful, is wicked. No one can know your heart, but you know when you're speaking and when you're communicating with women and you're communicating in an unhealthy way. And sometimes we don't understand that we're operating from a place of lack of discipline, a lack of respect. And so it is very scary, Fernand, to know now that when women are out and about, even just going to the car wash, going to get gas for their car, they're being harassed. And if you don't respond a certain way, you have to now discipline yourself to be super nice. You even have to almost give a guy your phone number without getting your head bashed in. So we really got to really pay attention to what's happening and being able to identify some of these problems, but also putting some of these things that you have found in your own walk and on your own life that will help you be better fathers, be better examples, and be better teachers. Now, when I say be better teachers, being better operators of what you say, because a lot of times you can say a lot, but we have to see how you live your life and how you handle others. My final one real quickly here, and I'm going to segue off of this conversation. Go ahead to the next one would be the what? Verbal discipline, right? So without having to read all of that, if we can understand how important it is to manage what you're saying, how you're saying it. I'm not talking about running around being a tone police, but when you begin to speak words of death, destruction, words of anger, those words and that energy, those spells that come out of your mouth comes from somewhere. And now you have to understand, okay, where's the root of this anger? Where is the root of this lack of discipline where I need to go on the chase? I need to abuse myself physically. I need to find a woman that I could play with because this is the thing to do. Bad information. The brain has a virus and we need an antivirus to come in there and clean that thing out. And so we're talking about mind, body, and soul. We're not just talking about being able to put on a chastity belt and go to a sex education class, and that's all you need to know, right? We're not even talking about that. We're talking about being able to discipline your mind, being able to discipline your body, disciplining your soul, being able to center yourself in a healthy way, to know who you are, to be able to speak righteously, to have a heart full of gratitude, love, kindness, and patience, being able to respect other women, right? So that's my submission for today, Brother Ferdinand. That's just a little short minute of conversation. Back to you, sir. I'm loving it. I'm loving it, and I'm always loving it.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. But yeah, man. No, seriously, I agree with everything you're talking about. I think that discipline is one of the main things that we need to focus on in our community. The older generation that knows discipline, they need to sit down with the younger individuals and they need to train them. While a lot of the brothers that are working, they're taking care of families, they might be working crazy hours. Sometimes, they're just not able to support the family in this way that I'm talking about, in knowledge and in teaching, as well as they like, because they're out there earning a living, right? Well, the older generation might be retired, and if they're still living, they got to step into that role of teaching the future, right? Because we got some heavy things that are coming up, man. I'm seeing videos with robots and stuff. They're making cookies, bro. Like I'm looking at videos of drones that have machine guns on them. That like I would imagine a regular consumer has.
I was down at a conference in North Texas some years ago, back 2019, and I ran into, by accident, I say it again, by accident, I ran into a couple, a husband and a wife, that had a doll or a mannequin in a wheelchair. That was their beloved partner. And it was crazy because you're like, okay, so you have a wife, a human being, right? So now you want a robot or some kind of, and it was a huge, and I have photos of it, brother. It's like it has an Instagram page. There's like risque pictures of this model, this rubber robot. And so that says to me, what's going on here? That this melanated brother, will parade around with this plastic sun dodger, right? And celebrate it as a sex partner, an ex-partner. I know there's some protocols on social media now. We can't use certain words, but there's something that has to be going on in the mind. Say who what? What do you think?
Well, I've said this over and over again. You've heard me say this about the zombie apocalypse. A lot of people laugh when I say it, but a zombie, in my opinion, is a walking dead, but it's a dead person who is chasing something that they have an insatiable want for it, right? There's no quenching this thirst, and then at the same time they have no feeling, or they have lesser amount of feeling in their nervous system, right? Okay. Well, that's the average person today, unfortunately in America. So you got a bunch of people who they're not thinking clearly, and I understand, like I'm not even trying to condemn them or talk bad about them. Like if you're eating poison on a regular basis, you don't even know it. You're not really exercising. You got a sedentary lifestyle. You're not really drinking water. Your thinking is going to be all over the place. You're going to have mental fog. You're going to have all these different issues that included in that, you're going to possibly be dealing with disease too. So you got a massive amount of stress. Right. You ain't never going to make decisions that make sense.
Right.
So I try to operate in empathy and compassion in this space of really understanding what our people are going through, technically what they're doing to themselves, but what they're going through. It's got to be hard.
Yeah, and that should be a no-brainer, right? You got Two Brothaz An Idea. Let's just start there. Men that will take the kind of time and pull themselves away from their families to have intimate conversation in a public platform that's not so public, but public, right?
Right.
It takes a lot of patience, a lot of love, a lot of understanding, but most importantly, as we share our experiences, it is obviously that we're empathetic, right? But I'm going to turn the corner on you a little bit real quickly. What happens when we give people information? You have delivered the healing. They know the truth, right? But they choose to do otherwise.
Well, that's their choice. That's the thing about leading a horse to water. In my opinion, it's our duty to lead our people to the water. Right. And then it's their duty to make a choice whether they're going to drink or not. Right. But it's not our duty to make them drink. It's just our duty, in my opinion, through our demonstration, through my spiritual walk. It is my responsibility to be an example to the masses of our people, to the men, to the young men, to the boys. It's my responsibility to be an example, right? So all that is, my example is the leading to the water. What they do after that, completely up to them. I would like for them to drink. But you know, that's their choice on if they drink
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and I think it's important to pull that out. A lot of these conversations, man, are very hard to have because it causes some of us to look well within ourselves and start self-reflecting and saying, "Hey, you know what? I've wasted a lot of time for whatever reason and for whatever cause and effect that is." I think that delivering a message of truth, however you deliver that message, it's a message of love, it's a message of correction, but the corrected message is the lifestyle and the demonstration of that one who is delivering it. We must continue to practice what we're preaching, right? And I'm speaking to the religious institutions, I'm speaking to the educators, I'm speaking to people down the hall. You know what I mean? It's important for us to be living examples of how we live our lives, because a lot of times we got a lot of children, as you mentioned, Ferdinand, and as my brother Sincere mentioned, you know, they're watching us. They're watching us on the web. They're watching us on the phone. They're watching us how we interact with our wives, how we talk to one another, how we interact with strangers. So we have to continue to not only teach, but we must demonstrate and must be whole examples. And that takes work, man. So I'm proud of the work and the continuous growth, man. What about yourself?
I'm very proud of what I'm seeing from the young men in my circle. Um, you know,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of improvement that all of us need to make.
Yeah.
And there always will be improvements that we need to make. It's an endless journey. But you know, I got some dope brothers in my circle, man. I got some brothers out here that
Yeah.
are they some spiritual monsters. And then on top of that, they winning in every industry, bro. Like I got homies who are pilots. I got homies that are media masters. I got homies that are they're like the main administrators of very important governmental operations, and I mean, I go down the list, you know. So I'm very thankful for the
You know,
circle that I got.
shout out to that, man. And we all have that family, right? So I want to give a shout out to my good brother Jordan D. Garner. Good brother of mine, man. He's always been a part of my life through the United States Air Force. You know, I love these brothers. My shout out to my man Tay Greer on here. You guys can come up. You want to be a part of this conversation, we can shoot you the link. The link is right there to give us some of your thoughts, some of your feedback on this dialogue. Brother Jordan said, Ferdinand, he says, we have a responsibility both to teach and be teachable.
Facts. I agree. Train the trainer is not just for the military. I think that we need to live in the reality that in
Yes,
melanation,
sir.
we need to be training the trainer.
Yes.
Every man who comes in contact with a young man, right? He should be imparting some wisdom upon him. And it might not necessarily be through his mouth. It might be through the way he walks. It might be through the way he does his deeds, right? And the young men need to be paying attention. And then the season, the OGs need to also be paying attention that there is a young man watching, you know? So we need to be giving lessons at all times. And then the young men need to be learning lessons. And then the young men need to be paying attention to how they need to be learning to teach these lessons, because it's going to be their turn soon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, man, listen, we could talk about this all day. I mean, this is a wonderful conversation that transcends from various platforms. And so I think one of the greatest things that I have learned about discipline is that once I realized that there were certain buttons, imagine this, boom, shirt open. These are buttons. And I'm able to master this thing called lust of the flesh, right? The thing over here they call the lust of the eyes, and all of these mechanisms that cause me to vibrate at a very low frequency. If I learn to master these buttons, not in perfection, but to know, okay, I have to be able to know at this moment, I can't be talking like this because I know what this leads to. I have to manage my thoughts before they come out my mouth. Because a lot of times we get caught up with the scuttlebutt conversations. We find ourselves conjuring up old behavior just by remembering.
Not the scuttlebutt conversations.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, dog. I remember when we used to whoop de whoop, whoop de whoop. And now you create a climate of these types of conversations.
Yeah.
Now you know how we you know what I'm talking about.
That part
So
right there.
being able to understand that, man, I got to protect myself, but most importantly, I have to be a witness, and not just in this 4-dimensional realm, this 5-dimensional realm, this 6-dimensional realm, and it's so forth and so on. I got to be a witness, and so it's a witness not only to that I have to be a great man, a good man to myself, knowing myself and knowing what my role is and my responsibilities is to my wife, to my children, but also understanding that who I am in my community.
Yes, facts. And I want to camel, like as the Moors say, as the Moors say, I want to camelback on that, right? Group economics is so important. I want to hammer that home every week. I want to hammer that on the people. We got to live in group economics. We got to make smart decisions within group economics.
Yes,
we got to
sir.
make that dollar move in our community over and over again before it leaves our community. Whatever it is that our people need, we need as many people in the community as possible who produce those things themselves, right? I'm putting that out into the atmosphere. Come on, Melanation, y'all build with me, right? If you a sower, like, let us know that you sow clothes. If you're maybe you're an automobile creator, right? Maybe
Right.
maybe you make cupcakes. You know, whatever it is that you do, like, we need to bring Melanation together. And if you got something that I need to spend some money with you, right? And if you guys, if you need something and one of the homies over here got it, you need to spend money with them, right? We need to make that happen, right? I'm gonna keep hammering this home. Group economics is something we gotta do. We gotta do much better at in Melanation.
You know, I think when I think about group economics, also, I'm with it. I also think about the internal group economics.
Yes.
When I'm thinking about the internal economic, the ecosystem within me, I have to be able to function internally as what I want to present and project externally, right? So being able to manage my mind, my thoughts, being able to have some discipline and some consistency in my life, right? Being able to be goal orientated. Here we go. We keep talking about the principles that we mentioned in previous conversations, and being able to know, okay, I can't stop. I can no longer be a commentator. I can no longer be a spectator, an agitator, right? You know, those people that always got something to say and they just busybody and, you know, we reparations and we need to do this and we need to do that. But get your hands dirty. Be quiet. Get into these economic systems, these systems that should be reflecting inside of you that love, that patience, that kindness, right? That long suffering, that love, that peace that passes all understanding. Talk to me. When I'm operating in position and I'm in the right condition for the moment to do the work, man, that group economics, that thing gonna flow out of you, man. And them seeds gonna start dropping off that tree. And then come another brother, he gonna start, pruning you a little bit. Here comes some water. Then here comes the increase. And now we're duplicating this process, not only within ourselves, not only within our homes, not only within our communities. And now we are change agents that are being about it, living examples for it. Let's talk about that root tribe. If you got blood pressure issues, come on now.
Oh man, I almost said amen.
I
I almost said hallelujah.
Talk about that root tribe, right? If you got brain fog, right?
Yeah.
The good book says, the little fella, I don't know who the little king, and I'm gonna land my plane, Ferdinand. I'm gonna land my plane. He said he was talking to the creator. He said, created me a clean heart and renew the right spirit in me. Something has to change within us in order for us to develop a healthy relationship, not only with our wives, not only with our communities, not only with our children, but something got to happen within us to have a healthy relationship with yourself. Stop beating yourself up for some of the past mistakes you made. Stop blaming yourself.
You brought root tribes into the conversation. So when it comes down to creating discipline for the phallus, I would say herbs that could really help would be ashwagandha. Now, if a man is not necessarily looking for discipline and he's just looking for it to work the way it's supposed to, your hembe is good. But ashwagandha is really good for it's an adaptogenic herb, you know.
Yes.
So if a person's too high, it's going to bring you a little lower. It's going to bring you to balance. If you're too low, it's going to bring you up a little higher. It's going to bring you to balance, right? So it'll help your thinking make sense. You know, it help your decision making make sense. Your desires to not be out of control, right? So ashwagandha is really, really great for that purpose. But I would also say that when we think about balance, I'm also gonna keep hammering home another thing: the 6 keys of life, right? So we're talking about nutrition, water intake, sunlight intake. We're talking about exercise. We're talking about sleep, and we're talking about goals, right? So if we want to have balance and have discipline of the phallus, right, we have to have balance within what we do during those 24-hour stretches of time. We need to have a balance within those 6 keys of life.
Yeah.
We need to be ingesting nature as far as nutrition, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, water, right? We need to be going outside, take your shoes off, connect with the ground, connect with the earth, right? Get that 432 hertz frequency resonating through you, right? And achieve that healing that is your birthright, right? Create goals. Why do you create the goals? You create the goals because they give you direction. If you have the direction to go towards something that matters to you, a worthy ideal, next thing that you do is you take the other 5 serious. You take the nutrition serious. You take the water. You take the sunlight. You take the sleep serious. You take the exercise. You take all of this serious, right? Well, the exercise is important, movement, right? But then sleep. All of this, you got to have balance, right? And then that, in addition to the right type of suggestions, will have a young man with discipline of the phallus with ease. It won't even be difficult.
And discipline in all areas of his life also, correct?
Facts, 100%.
Man, this is good, man. This is good. I see we gelling now, brother. I see we mixing it up now. Huh?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Let
sir.
there be light.
Hey, well, hey, thank everybody. I mean, we had so much engagement today. Thank y'all so much for coming on to the show. We moved from 2 days a week, and we're doing just Tuesdays every week, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come and talk with us. We're going to be talking about some very important topics in for our people, for the men. This is a platform for the men. Y'all ladies, y'all can come and check us out. Y'all can come and listen. You know, y'all might even throw something in the comments. Thank you. This is for the men. Y'all brothers, y'all come on out. Y'all listen to what we got to say. Y'all jump in here and so we can listen to what y'all got to say. Because this is Teton and Ferdinand. We ain't no superstars. We a couple of fathers and husbands out here who want to create a stronger network of brothers that come together and achieve dope stuff, right? And we all have you got money, and this person over here, he got influence, and this person over here, he got a whole bunch of intelligence. This person over here, he got a great Rolodex, right? We got to come together and bring all of those together. That's what this is about, right? So come and rock with us, Two Brothers and an Idea, because that is the idea. The idea is improving community. We do this through living in righteousness, all right? And my brother Teton and I, we still working on the living in righteousness part, right? So y'all can help us. It's not just us trying to help everybody else. We're opening the doors for us to get better too, right? This is a consistent growth period. It never stops. No matter what level that you at, there's 100,000 million trillion more levels to get to, right? And I want to reach all of them in this lifetime. So y'all help me out.
No doubt, man. Again, Brother Ferdinand, man, I appreciate you for inviting me to be a part of these conversations. And without a doubt, I enjoy it. I think that the growth, the learning, and the engagement is the most considerable thing, because when you think about ways that we've helped each other, ways that the stories that we tell amongst each other, and the victories, and also some of the not so great moments, I think to be able to have these conversations with levels of transparency, honesty, you know what I'm saying? But being able to go back and find resources, connect with your political and social currency and build partnerships and relationships in your communities so that we duplicate this work and present evidence-based facts. I'm tired of talking about it. My name is Teton Moffitt. It's time to be about it. We're on purpose,
Facts.
not by accident, sir.
Hey, I gotta give a couple shout outs. We got the homie Jay King who showed up. Hey,
My
peace,
man.
brother. Appreciate you.
Jay King on the joint.
You. Jay King up here. We got the brother talk. Matter of fact, let me put up Jay King. Let me put up Jay King up here. Yeah, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the love. We got the brother Taharka Bay who they came in. He throwing some fire on the conversation. Appreciate you. Right there, man. Yeah, man. He gotta jump in the link next time, man. We got two comments from brother Bay.
Yeah.
We got some more love from the brother Sincere. Oh yeah, man. Advertise, man. Yeah, man. That's what this is about, man. This is group economics, man. Nobody's gonna save us, man. Nobody's gonna save us. We've got to work together and bring ourselves above water, right? And if we can come above water, we can levitate above it, right? And next thing you know, we're out the firmament. We're doing what we're supposed to do as who we actually are. Beings of the stars.
I ain't frozen, Emma.
Nah. Thank y'all very much. We're going to go ahead and get up out of here. Really appreciate everybody. Well, I can't wait till next week. Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Two Brothers and an Idea. I'm Ferdinand. And we got the brother homie Teton over here.
Yeah, Teton. Peace and love to you. See you again.